Francisco is outdated, time-consuming, and flat-out broken, which is why we are so excited that Mayor London Breed, Supervisor Joel Engardio, and Supervisor Matt Dorsey have introduced a pivotal piece of legislation to start addressing that problem. San Francisco needs to build more housing, a minimum of 82,069 units over the next 8 years to be exact. And if we were going to make good on this promise, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors needs to pass pro-housing legislation. And today, a piece of that solution, the constraints removal legislation, is going to be heard by the Planning Commission. And with any luck, it'll be in front of the Board of Supervisors soon. I want to have our first speaker come and kick us off tonight, a champion for housing here in San Francisco Mayor London Breed.
Corey, you must have been up late last night because it's the daytime right now. You see, he has on shades. Who knows what he was doing? The residual effects of pride in San Francisco, right? We like to have a good time when we can. Well, thank you all so much for being here. We're here with a number of housing advocates and various groups who continue to push for housing reforms in the city and county of San Francisco. Some of you remember a few years back when State Senator Scott Wiener introduced SB 827. And when I was running for mayor at the time, so many people said, you can't support this. People on the West Side are going to be opposed to it. And I was one of the only persons running for mayor to support it. And when I went to the West Side, and in fact, there were a lot of people that were not happy with the fact that I was supportive of this, but I asked the audience at the Irish Cultural Center, how many of you were born and raised in San Francisco and grew up in this city, been here for about 40, 50 years? All the hands went up like, yes, I'm a proud San Franciscan, like this lady down here in the green shirt. Then I asked, how many of you raised your kids in San Francisco? And it was like, yes, I raised my kids. They went to Galileo High School. My kids grew up in San Francisco. Then I said to the audience, how many of your kids still live in San Francisco? And then the room got quiet. Hardly anybody raised their hand. The fact is, so many people have had the ability to live in this city for many generations and is oftentimes the only reason why they can still afford to live here. But we have failed. We have failed to be as aggressive as we know we need to be to build more housing in San Francisco to ensure that not only could people who are struggling to afford to live here can stay here, but what happens to the next generation? What happens to the folks who are working hard, 2 and 3 jobs, and still can't afford the rent or can't afford to put a down payment on a home to stay in the place that they were born and raised in? We have to get out of our own way. The layers of bureaucracy that have been created, and oftentimes things that we don't even have a say in, have really been a problem for the burden of building housing. There is a property on Mission Street as we speak that houses over 100 families. And you know how long it took between the time the property was identified and the first family moved in? All affordable units. It took 10 years. 10 years, and it wasn't just about the financing. It was about the process and what we have to go through to even put shovels in the ground to get housing built. And everyone has said time and time again, we support affordable housing. Well, right now there's only clearly 2 supervisors here that I can honestly say, Matt Dorsey and Joel Engardio, who have not only talked about supporting building more housing in San Francisco, but their decisions and votes have reflected building more housing in San Francisco. And as the Board of Supervisors deliberated 10 housing units that they basically said no to for complicated, kind of unsubstantiated reasons, here we are again. We say we support it, but our actions show something completely different. We have to get out of our own way. And we need people in San Francisco to rise up and to demand change. The fact that we had to introduce policies now, very bold policies, that, for example, the state density bonus, San Francisco has no say whatsoever in whether or not anyone who builds housing in this city can use the state density bonus. They can use it whether we say so or not, yet we have a hearing process to deliberate the state density housing bonus with no say whatsoever. It is a waste of time and waste of resources. When we talk about converting even office buildings downtown, we know that some of the requirements are different when you're talking about building new housing. So some of the outdoor requirements don't make sense for that. And the fact that we have to go through a conditional use to debate that is not necessary. When we have housing laws that exist, that are already a part of various neighborhoods, when we have height limits and recess back from the side, all these things are in place. Why are we still deliberating on whether or not these units can be built in the first place? We have created laws for the sake of having laws. We have created policies for the sake of having policies and looking like we're doing something. And right now, we need to make changes so that we actually are doing something, and that is speeding up housing production in San Francisco. The city has over 50,000 units that have already been approved. Park Merced on the west side of town was approved before I was even on the board of supervisors and hasn't even started. We got over 30,000 units in the pipeline. We have the ability to do this, but we have to create bold policies to get out of the way to make it happen. The state is requiring the city to build 82,000 units in the next 8 years. We can't even build 5,000 units a year. And we can't do that not just because of the money, but because of our policies. Today at the planning department, we want to see change. And when this legislation goes to the board of supervisors, we want to see change. I am tired of making promises that we're going to get housing built in this city only to have obstructionists get in the way and stop these projects because they don't want to block their view or because they don't want to see affordable housing with low-income residents in their neighborhood. Enough is enough. Let's get it done, and let's get it done today. I got more to say, but there's a couple of other speakers. And I want to really thank HAC, I want to thank YIMBY, I want to thank so many of the advocates who are pushing for more housing in this city. It means so much, and it's going to make a difference when we start having people get their keys to their new homes because of what we're fighting for. And at this time, I want to introduce a member of YIMBY. Yes, in my backyard. Yes, build the housing. Yes, make it taller. Yes, make it happen. Yes, make it rain homes in San Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jay Natoli.